Aquarius, how you doing? So actually, I'm not sure if you would notice, but I've actually changed areas and I've got myself a seat. Just pretty much changing things around. I went to a, what was it called? Chiropractor. And they told me that I had to have my back cracked and my neck cracked and all that kind of stuff. That I got a bad hip, obviously, all that kind of stuff. But when you're a tarot card reader, it's also very important to keep your arms here, and I've always got it there sitting on a bed. So I've been told, and also so I'm trying to move. So that's some of the reason. Aquarius, how you doing? So we're going to do your March reading, but we're going to look into the moment before, as that we had been through just over the short period of time of while I've been getting used to these cards. Also, if you're not Patron members, or even if you are, but it's gone down from $16 to $5. Obviously, if you've seen your Sun, Moon, Rising and Venus, you've seen me say that endless amounts of time so far. But it's gone down from $16 down to $5. So if you wish to join, you obviously have access to everything. It all just goes to one tier now. Okay, guys, so it's just there. If you want to click the link below to the Show More section, it takes you over to Patreon. Also, if you would like a personal reading, you can also find the email in the Show More section along with all the other multimedia sites. Okay, that's out the way, Aquarius. So let's just relax. So let's have a look at the moment before. This feels very strange, me sitting here doing this first reading. Okay, so it could be Piscean maybe, but let's stop talking. Let's see the moment before with Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising and Venus. What's happened with Aquarius? Okay, so generally, as well, guys, if you know me by now, sometimes these messages can get very personal for people because they can start to involve children. Now, also, what I've noticed through these cards, that if these are children and they are relating to your children, okay, this can be something that they're going through, okay, as well. So it would relate to you, but it would still relate to things that they go through. So there's a lot of like, well, I just feel stuck at the moment. I'm stuck at home. This person seems to be stuck at home. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. But I'm just stuck at home thinking. There's a lot of thinking. You see, the Knight thinks. The Knight comes up with an idea, but it's like, well, what do I want to do? Because I physically maybe want to move, but because where I am at the moment, I just seem to be not moving. So there could have been a plan, or could have been a plan to actually move. Okay, but it could be going back to work. It's like, well, I've got to go back to work now. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to start to move. Some of you, it's a physical move, and some of you, it's just like the energy's just felt very like stuck at the moment, where you've been planning a lot of stuff. A lot of, I also had wedding planner, I don't know why, but also then so you got Sagittarius, there's a lot of blending in that someone could have thought, you know, in order to get back into society and to get back into rotating or a rota at work, something to do with a rota at work. But in order for me to get back into motivation, because there's a lot of like motivation and no motivation. It's like, well, 1 minute I've got no motivation and then I've got loads of motivation. Something also to do with a motor, which would be a car, but in Britain we call it a motor. But channeling something motor, something to do with maybe a Cancerian or something to do with a car. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to start to get motivated, but I might need a car. So this might be a plan, as if to say, well, what do you want to do then? Do you want a car? Or do you want, where do you want to go? Because I'm picking up that energy of like, because I'm stuck, I need a car. So this is like, well, I need a lift and I need to rely on someone in order for things to start happening in someone's life. But you've got an earth sign. Okay, but for things to start happening in my life. So I'm not sure if this is you or them at the moment, but obviously it's involving you, Aquarius. So if things are stuck or been stuck, it's because someone seems to be falling on deaf ears. But I heard that, falling on deaf ears, of like getting someone to be motivated and find the motivation within themselves. There's a lot of protection of the universe and all that kind of stuff, that it's all guided and protected, and that someone has to go through this. This is something that someone has to go through to find their own vibration. Motivation, also spiritual calling, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of, in order to find my own vibration, I have to do something. So it feels like a lot of, could be fear of having to do something, but knowing that the energy is approached. Okay, because there's also I'm also hearing briny. I'm picking up the name Briny or Brian. It feels like the life of Brian. Stone him. But it could be let's see, religious factors. Let's see. So show me the moment before with Aquarius. The moment before, you see, there was probably this is a lot of stuff that goes on at home. You see, this is a privacy. there's a lot of privacy that someone has, and it's because it's a lot to do with someone's privacy. Okay, a lot to do with privacy. It's like, well, I want privacy. I just need some free time. It feels like there's a lot of like enclosedness, but this is needing to escape home. It means that I'm at home all of the time, and where I am, I need to restart and rebuild. So some of you could have had a plan to physically move, but it feels like some of you are just stuck between a rock and a hard place of acting out of, which can relate to your children if you've seen them acting out. If you have children, okay, and they've come back to you and asking for your advice, there's this reenactment of something that's happening again and again and again, because it feels like, well, what are you going to do then? Because you're reenacting something. What was the channel I was picking up? That you need to find your motivation and what is it that you want to do. There's a lot of discussions about like moving. But in order to find my feet and in order to find where I want to be in life, I'm going to have to start to make a plan. So it feels like someone returned into your life. If you're a mother, the children return back to your life to ask you some kind of advice about physical movement from wherever you live or wherever they live. They asked a question about living spaces, and that the living spaces are probably confined, because this feels like solitary confinement. I don't know why, but so I'm picking up Solitary, the game Solitary, a card game, something to do with solitaire, or a time tear, or a share, something to do with a timeshare as well, like sharing some kind of personal thoughts with someone that's relating to anything phallic. So if it wasn't sharing a personal thought with someone, it's a personal feeling of something that's phallic, meaning there's a lot of like hot and cold. It's like, well, 1 minute that you're hot and the next minute I'm hot to trot, meaning but I'm still not gone anywhere, I'm still thinking. So there's a lot of like, well, I'm hot, so I need your attention for something, but why is there no action? Because this can be like, well, there's action, but then there's no action. So there was no action for something, which was like in my eyes here is like a counter reaction. Well, if you're not going to give me no action, then I'm going to go back to the parents or something in order to get advice. But then all of a sudden there was like loads of action. So it feels like, well, I had no action, but now I've got loads of action. So it seems to be like a lot of energy of Pisces retrograde and all that kind of stuff that's been going on up in the sky, where things have been up in the air, and it's a lot of like, well, I've got motivation and then I've got no motivation, and I'm trying to find my place of whether I want to physically move, but what is it? Because we need to organise. There seems to be a lot of organising, but no organisation. It seems that one could be very organised, so we're relating to probably your partner, where I'm very organised, okay, but there's a lot of, well, I'm not organised and I don't know what to do, so I'm stuck. It feels like, well, I'm organised and then I'm not organised. It's like, well, it feels like someone's detecting something in the relationship where there's a lot of organising that has to be done about living spaces, okay, and that someone's analysing it to the point where there could have been like an argument. This could be someone that said something very abruptly and it's like, what on earth did you just say? What? I don't believe what I just heard, because this is calling, okay, and someone probably called you up as if to say something. You're like, I can't believe what I just heard. I can't believe what I just heard. The news. I can't believe the news that the news. Also something that was physically on the news or on Facebook. I can't physically believe what I just see. There's something that I just see that that's making, or hear. It feels like something that's making me fear something is where I don't know. The energy is getting very like strange. So what happened? Aquarius, Sun, Rising, Venus. What happened? But we compare these, as always, we compare these to your March reading when it starts to come up, to see about consecutive patterns that may still start to happen in your cycle. Let's see. So the moment before, so wow, so there was definitely a breakup in a way. You've got Scorpio twice here, roughly, okay? But it doesn't have to be Scorpio, but it just means rebuilding. So there's a lot of like it's so stuck. It feels like I'm so stuck. Because this is just like, well, I'm flat out and absolutely knackered, and the energy feels so dense because you've got Scorpio energy of the death card. Okay, so this to me is like a flat line. Okay, a flat line. So it's to do with a flat. Okay, they're saying something to do with a physical flat or a house, but like a flat share, or thinking about like a flat. Okay, a building, but thinking about a building. So through this share of what I'm picking up, like a timeline, it's a lot to do with going from one place to another time place of energy. So in order to, because it feels very strange, Aquarius. Sharing, something to do with sharing or feeling like caring, like you don't care. But it's like, well, I do care. I'm there, but where's the like sharing of emotion? Or Sharon, I'm picking up the name Sharon, or Karen. But it feels like a timeline has been presented itself here. Okay, so move from one instant to another instant of being tired and over anxious and overworking and overthinking. It feels like, well, I'm overthinking and over planning and overthinking and over planning about this physical move. Okay, and because that has to happen, I physically have to have action in order to do it. And if I'm overanalyzing and overthinking and I'm not actually taking any action, because there's no fire here, there's no action. So because there's no action, I'm going to overanalyze a situation to its degree until I have an argument because I haven't took any action. So it feels like someone isn't taking an offer from you, or you're not taking it. Someone, you got earth sign, but not taking a physical action. Okay, and because I wasn't, I lashed out and said something. And there might have been a momentarily lapse of reasoning with someone where they went back to family. Okay. Now, because of that, like, what did I say? Share, some kind of like house share, okay, or flat line. Sorry, flat line. So, I mean, I hope that's not someone that you physically lost, because that could be someone that you physically lost. Because I am, for people like spiritual wise, I am picking up like a flat line, like, well, all of a sudden it seems to be just like nothing, and there's nothing, and there's nothing, and there's nothing. And then in order for me to do that, I have to find my own way out. And it feels like, well, all of a sudden there was just like nothing there. Or I'm picking up like you just don't care, like you don't care. Okay, so it's a lot to do with, see, going back to one's family, and it could be a lot of like family stuff that's here. Okay, but someone came back. You see, after a short break, someone came back again. So you could be going back to work. You could have had like leaves of absence, or like a leave of absence. They're saying, or something like leaving, like, well, I'm going to leave. So if we relate this to work, it feels like, well, I was I'm going to leave then, and then go back to see family, and then get some advice on like a flat share or flat advice, or what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to ask my family in order to find out what that is, and then come back, because it feels like, well, I go away and then I come back, and then you go away and then you come back. So it feels like someone does go away quite a lot. Now they're either at work a lot, okay, or they think a lot about something that's internal. There's also like an illness maybe that someone has, or they're witnessing that someone has like an energy of like, all of a sudden they start to overanalyze a situation to a point of like no return. Okay, and it's like, well, I'm thinking about it, and then the argument is well, why are you not acting upon it then? Because there's a load of thinking is what I'm feeling, but there's no action. So someone's overanalyzing a situation, or did, or was to its highest degree, but then said it abruptly, and then they got a response in a manner that they might not have liked because someone was tired. This is like being worn out and tired. Like at the end of the day, by the time I'm finished, I am absolutely knackered, and that I've got no idea what to say to you about this. Shall we move in together, or shall we physically move? So I don't know what to say to you, because it's something to do with like relying on family members or something for either one advice or for physically where you are. Okay, but this is like, well, let's just take one step at a time here. Let's just take one step at a time. One step. If there's like one step. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is 6 again. So it was a lot to do with family. 15, yeah, which is 15, which is 6. So let's see. Because I felt like the 7 of Swords, you see, and then it started up again. So this is a lot to do with like the sexual nature of someone, but being tired. It's like, I'm just extremely exhausted, but it happens. So it feels like, well, I'm just waiting for you to like give me some care and affection, and I'm waiting for you to come home. It feels like someone is stuck, right, at home a lot in the relationship. So if you're together with someone, it feels like that someone is at home a lot, okay, because it's like Sir Lancelot in this one, right, or Sir Lance, or the name Lance, okay, Lance, but also an operation of a lance, like something that needs to be lanced, like I don't know, I'm picking up like a boil or something, but sorry guys, but something that needs to be lanced that's annoying someone of when you sit, okay, so something like, well, when I sit down I feel uncomfortable. Welcome to my world, my new table, Aquarius. But okay, when I'm sitting a lot, I seem to be doing nothing as well. It's like, well, I'm here waiting for you just to come home because I'm bored and I've got nothing to do. I'm not saying that you're bored, Aquarius. This could be your partner. But there's a lot of like, well, I'm just sitting around waiting for something to happen and action. And someone's saying, well, where's your like action? And where's... It's like, oh, okay. It feels like someone is stuck between a rock and a hard place, okay, and that they get bored very quickly because they don't have something in their life individually for themselves. This card is an individual card of one person, okay, so it feels like one person, like I started to kick on at the start, has like action, because there's kind of like action here because someone is like absolutely knackered, right, because this is like worn out and tired by having to do so much, okay. But this energy here is like, well, I'm really not that worn out. I'm just like bored. So there's a lot of like boredom. Like, well, I'm boredom in the relationship. But if it's like, well, where's your life outside of the relationship? So what's more interesting to you as an individual? Sorry, I'm trying to be very cautious of how I tell this to people. But it feels like, where's your motivation? Like, my motivation is here because I'm working a hell of a lot in order to pull this relationship together, in order to reconcile with you, to talk, but also the family, okay? So it feels like in order for that to happen, someone needs to pull like their weights, but start to do things for oneself, okay? And that when you can find oneself here, because this is the most important card here, okay, because it's headed that way. So it feels like, well, which way are you going then? Are you staying with me, or are you staying with your parents, or are you, like, what are you doing? Because I'm absolutely flat out and I'm knackered and I don't know what to say or what to do. So what are you going to do? Are you going to get, I don't know, a gym membership? Are you going to, like, find some kind of situation in your life that gives you more motivation, okay? Because it feels like I've got no motivation at the moment in order to be able to move or to be able to do anything, and I really don't feel like seeing anybody, and I really don't want to talk to anybody either, okay? So some of you might not be seeing anybody, but you're actually realising that you're actually pushing it away yourself. Trust me, that's your karma. You don't realise that a lot of the energy that comes from is obviously coming from you. So when you have a strong energy of like motivation, when your motivation, whoever I'm talking to, okay, gets what do you call it, like forced upon, like someone can force someone into an opinion saying, well, listen, you're going to have to move. And then that's when someone can say, listen, don't talk to me about moving. How, you know, that kind of thing. Because someone's not doing something that they're thinking about. Okay, so because they're been overthinking and overanalyzing, it's an energy of like, well, I'm stuck. So if I'm stuck, I'm just going to think about it. And then what do you do when you start to think a lot? Trust me, that always becomes from your first action. Your action plan, okay, comes from what you've been thinking. So it feels like, well, I'm stuck, so I'm bored, I've got nothing to do, so what am I going to do? So I'm going to think about it, and then all of a sudden I'm going to act upon what I'm thinking, but I haven't actually done anything about it. And what I'm picking up is that that's been a cycle that someone's been going through together as a relationship, but also apart. That apart from one another, and I'm picking up like an apartment. Okay, and it's something to do with like moving into an apartment, because I'm picking up these as like flats, and there's a house that you're probably interested in, but one that you already live in. So it's like, well, I physically want to move. So I'm dreaming up and thinking about this, like physical move, and I'm thinking, but because someone never acted on it or something, there was like, well, you know, boom, and then all of a sudden someone got a response through what someone's been thinking because they're bored. Okay, so these are life readings, guys, so please make sure you keep an open mind, because I try to help people actually get out of situations, okay, so they can get very personal. But there is also something very personal. You see, this is a phallic card of like sexual nature, okay, so these can be a lot to do with like someone does it to oneself, okay, but it can also be like an appointment to something of like doctors and things like that. Okay, because this is like, well, I need to seek some advice from someone to do with this, like nature that I have. Okay, because I'm picking up like human naturist, or some kind of like human rights, or something to do like human. They keep saying like humour. Well, humour me then. It's like, well, where's your motivation? It's like, well, I just need your attention. So humour me. If it's like, well, I'm willing to work on it, but humour me. It's like, well, can't you humour yourself? sorry guys, but that seems to be a cycle that someone's gone through, because these are like appointments that, well, this person here is tired. It feels like, well, I'm overworked, underpaid, or tired. Like, I'm just tired. There's something to, because this can be like sleep apnea and things like that, because this is breathing and rebirth. You've got like a lot of breathing, like, oh, I can't breathe. Like, it feels like there was solitary confinement around a house where there's no space, and it's like, I can't hear myself think, and I can't hear myself breathe, because there's either the relationship or the fact that someone does have children, but it feels like, well, I can't breathe or think, and it's like, well, I can't think, so how am I going to approach telling you this about this move if I fear telling you? But it feels like, well, don't ask me here when I'm tired, because this is like tired, like this is where you can get a bad response, you see, from someone when they're overtired. So it's too much to think about, I'm overtired and I've got no idea what to say or how to say to you. And then when someone ruminates on a thought about this plan that they haven't took an action upon one themselves, that's when they can push that action onto here of where you probably got told something. Okay, so it could be like a brother or sister or friend told you something that you could have also witnessed, where things seem to be falling apart. Like, because I keep saying apartment, but it seems to be falling apart. It's like a lot of falling apart, falling in, falling out of like a timeline. Like, we're falling into a timeline, then we're falling out of a timeline. And my deadlines here, deadlines are like precise. Like, I've got so many deadlines and so many things that I've got to do that I am absolutely worn out. And because I've got so many deadlines, it's like this person, of why they're headed out, is because they've lacked in motivation and find it very difficult to find their own motivation. So this is where it could be, if you're like a mother or something and you're saying to your kids, like, will you find a job, or will you just do something, or will you, like, you know, like find something in life that's going to occupy yourself. It seems to be winding someone up because they haven't got their own calling, because this is like, well, my calling is here. So I go back to a Sagittarius in order to talk and heal something. So there could be a friend or a sister or someone that is a Sagittarius that you rely on to ask. Okay. So that can be a brother or a sister or a mother or someone as well. But you see, I'm seeing a reflection of like, well, this is the person that I can rely on. So I go back here to ask in order to get some kind of like stability back into my life, and ask for some kind of like, you know, advice. Healing would be advice, right? So I'm going to seek some advice. So I'm going there. This person here then started to get like, well, I'm just working and I'm knackered and I'm tired, and and then when it's okay, well, now I've come to some kind of conclusion, and here we go. So it picked back up. Your sex life more than likely picked back up, okay? But also it feels like someone does get very overtired, but someone's so focused on like relationship, but they're not also focused upon their own like calling, because this is calling, it's been calling, someone's been calling a lot. It's like, well, I'm just calling, or colon. Sorry, I'm also picking up like some kind of like colon, so something to do with like someone's internal digestive system, either the name Colin, okay, or colon, and it would be like, well, I need I need some kind of cleansing, okay, because there is like a cleansing here, like I need a cleanse or a lens. Someone's like hard of hearing or seeing, like, well, I'm finding it very difficult to see my way out of this at the moment, so I need some kind of like lens, like glasses or something just seems like far away. It's like, well, it's so far away at the moment, you're absolutely lost. Something to do with seeing as well, maybe, for some of you. Physical sight. Okay, so I'm going to stop channeling through those guys, because, wow, we've done nearly half an hour. So what I will do now is, thanks for giving me that time just to warm up to these cards. It's a new seat. I'm still doing exactly the same as what I was before, which is leaning over to the table. But I can actually, like... So let's see. So for Aquarius, for March, we'll just start to looking at a few cards. Okay, wow, there you go, Piscean. So it starts to pick back up. You start to feel happy again. Okay, so it's a bit of a sad, happy medium. Okay, and it could actually be a medium, but everyone's empathic. But it's a like happy, sad medium, meaning like love is a feeling, right? And love is there all of the time. But action, it's like there's action and then there's no action, and there's action and there's no action. And it's because of this one card here. It's because it's someone's trying to find of an action that they're not actually took. So it depends on what happens here. But it all depends on yourself of what actions you're prepared to take for things to go and get it. But it feels like, well, that was stuck. But I came back in order to reconcile, and we picked back up where we left off. So there was a lot of picking back up where we left off. And then through your March, you start off with the Ten of Cups. But because that is below the Knight here, it's still important for this cycle here to not continue on the same. This is why I do this. To not continue on the same. That this here, this relationship of family, okay, if it we won't go into family right now, but for this person here that's been struggling the most to find motivation to do something that you find that you would love to do for oneself, okay? So there could be a continuing cycle of like, well, I love you. So, the first card out there is the Ten of Cups. But again, you see, this cycle could be where there's a lot of family intervening, and there's a lot of someone that goes back to their family to ask for advice, or they ask for things from their family members, okay? But it depends on it, because here it seems like, well, I go back to the family and ask for their support, and I get that, but then I come back here to get... Some of you, like, you physically either live in a relationship together or you don't. Like, you're not actually, like, living together. Some of you that physically live together, this is, like, where you're not breaking up, but you just have, like, this spat, okay? And it goes off. And then there's, like, a dynamic where it's just like, what did you just say? It's like, well, I'm just tired. And then it's like, okay, I've gone back to the family here, and then I come back again here. So that's why I was picking up that I know that doesn't relate to a 7, but I was getting confused of feeling a 7 of Swords energy, of like going back to family, coming back, asking, like also like treading ground. I keep hearing like treading light ground, or treading a treadmill. I'm also hearing a treadmill, something to do with a treadmill. Also, fitness, physical fitness, or a treadmill, or something to do with walking. Let's see, Aquarius, Rising Venus for March. Wow, straight up with Libra. You see, 2. Again, I don't know what to do. I'm in love, but I'm in love with a beautiful woman. Right, but I don't know. Again, it's like, well, on one hand, I've got Pisces here for a lot of you, or I've got my family, but it's like, well, I've got my family and I've got my love life. So I've got everything to contend with. I've also probably worked for a Libra, okay, and because I'm working, maybe, for some of you, for a Libra, it's like I'm still here going between my love life and my work. Welcome to the world of relationships, Aquarius. But, or some of you are going backwards and forwards to Sagittarius. It's like, there could be a Sagittarius here that has children, okay? Sagittarius, got children, family here. But again, there's a lot of decisions that someone needs to make. Because that's the two. It's like, well, I've got decisions to make. It's like, okay, have you made them yet? Have you made up your mind? Because if not, the two stands at a path for ages thinking. And if there's a lot of thinking and there's not a lot of action, the action gets taken again through someone not taking an action. You see? Aquarius, Sun rising in Venus. Wow, that's getting hot in here. I've got radiators on. The radiator on. Yes. Oh. So, sorry, I'm forgetting. I'm on camera. Let's see. Aquarius, Sun rising in Venus. Again, so you got Leo energy. This is like just for like confined space. So you got 8, 9, 10. So again, 10 and 10. There's a lot of like feeling like, well, I'm just breathing down your neck. It's like, well, we need some space. It's like, well, where's my space? Because it feels confined here. There's a lot of confinement, confiding. Like, well, I confide, but I'm just like stuck here because you're stuck with this person. This is the person for a lot of you that you're in a relationship with, because there's two people in this, right? So, and there's two people here. But I'm in a relationship with you, but we feel like we're breathing down one another's neck because we're at home here in the tower here, and we are like literally like, there's a lot to do with phallic stuff as well. There's a lot of stuff going on at home maybe, okay? But there's still a lot of like, it feels like you're breathing down my neck, and then you get a response maybe because someone's like, I don't know, it could be a lot of fear. This is a lot of fear, you see, like fear, and then someone could fear a lot because they think a lot. There's a lot of, so I keep picking up salance a lot, or lance, or lancing, or lotting, lotter, plotting, sorry, they're coming through, plotting, like, well, I'm plotting, and I'm plotting, and I'm plotting, and I'm plotting, which obviously means thinking, right? So I'm thinking, and I've got a plan, and I've got a plan, and I'm thinking, and this is going around and around and around in someone's head because they're confined into a space with no action. So if you're in a physical relationship, you can't forget life, because life is going to happen regardless. And if you fight against life, that's when things become very difficult, because you need to find something in life that takes you out of a relationship. When you feel smothered or something in a relationship, that's because one's life is becoming very difficult because they're trying to find one, okay? So it feels like, well, I'm trying to find something, and I'm trying to find a reason. But there seems to be, well, there is no reason because we're here together, so where's your reasoning? And it feels like you can't reason with someone. It's like, well, I can't reason with you, I can't live with you, and I can't live without you, so I'm just going to think, but actually not take an action. Okay, so it feels like a lot of solitary confiding, like confiding in someone, like, I love you, 10 of Cups, and I'm here, and I need your guidance, and I need your help in order to make my decision for me. But again, that's not concentrating on oneself to make a decision. So that's why you're coming up against this card of 2 and 8, because you're in a 2 and 8. 2 and 8, 2 and 8. 2 and 8 in Britain is like, well, you're stuck between a 2 and 8. You're like stuck between a 2 and an 8 and a mate. Or something, a mate. I keep picking up a mate. It's like, well, I go back to my mate to get advice, or a 2 and 8. Like, I'm just like always in like decision mode. I'm just always thinking. There's a lot of thinking that's coming up of a plan, but let's hope that there starts to be some action. Let's see, Aquarius for March. Because don't get me wrong, I'm picking up don't get me wrong. See, ruminating thought, 5. A ruminating thought. This is someone that thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks, but there is literally no action plan. this person feels also pushed out. And so, well, I'm feeling pushed out. So you might feel a lot of stuff that's going on at home right now through March, that there's so many people that are feeling like, well, I feel lonely and I feel left out. But that could be something that's going on personally with people's family, right? But it feels like that I'm ruminating on this thought, and I'm ruminating this thought. It's like, well, where do you want to live? Where do you want to go? Because it feels like, well, I'm just going to be pushed out then. It's like, well, you're not pushed out, because obviously you have somewhere to live unless you're homeless, right? So it feels like, I mean, someone could be made homeless, okay? But I don't think that people are homeless, right? Because you wouldn't be watching this, I very much doubt. So there's a lot of like, well, I feel like home from home, but I feel left out from home because someone's thinking about this. Where do I be? Where am I? Like, what support do I get? Where do I go? Back to my family? Or do I stay here? Or do I go and ask for some kind of like job seekers allowance? Or do I ask my ex-partner for a loan? Because this is like child support and benefits and stuff like that. And it's like, well, if I move, am I going to have to go on benefit? Or am I going to have enough money to move? Can I afford it? But this person ruminates on a thought again and again, but again with no like action. Because it is to do with, you know, when I started to say about that timeline movement and that shift of a video that I did say last month I was supposed to do for people, but standing up against the vibration to stand in a dream, you have to have a dream that's not manifested itself yet, and you have to have belief in oneself that you can do that, to step across from something that's not real to step across to start the action of it becoming real. So you start off the ladder to build yourself up, okay? So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of timeline instance here, but still not a lot of like action for oneself, okay? And because of that, your March seems to be like, well, I'm still thinking about it, and I'm still thinking about it, and what someone's thinking about is like whether they want to be at home or not. So whether that's like at home in a relationship or finding one's friends and people or something in life. Okay? And this is obviously affecting your family, and this is also obviously affecting your relationship, and this is also affecting oneself. So I'm also picking up like an infection of like cold. Like it's either blowing hot and cold, it's like 1 minute I'm blowing hot and then the next minute I've got cold. But that's because of someone's vibration. You see, if you get a lot of colds and a lot of flu and a lot of symptoms, it's because your vibration's low. That's when you are, that's when you can have spiritual attack. That's, you know, panic attack, obviously, but spiritual attack can be that known as that because it's an awakening. Okay, so when you're a low vibration here and you feel down and you feel low and you start to overanalyze, that's the devil energy. That's the devil interfering with your ego, telling you stuff that might not be real. Okay, because you don't know, because you haven't experienced it. So when you're down here, this is where the mind can start to create cold and flu symptoms of you feeling down. Because when you have a cold or flu, what do most people say? Oh, I feel really down today. Yeah, down in the dumps, down like low here in vibration. So when your vibration's right up here and that you're really good and you're not thinking too much, guarantee you that people don't get a lot of cold and flu symptoms. Because it's like cold and flu. It's like, well, I'm just cold and then I'm flu and then I feel cold and shivery and like I'm just like, I feel left out and lonely, but there's a lot of like non-vibration. Do you know what I'm saying? Aquarius. Well, I'm going deep on people. What? Because it feels like someone like has this, because it's like hard of hearing. Right, I went through this with another reading, because this is spoken loudly, right, Leo. This is spoken loudly, right, and there was a Virgo energy in that, and it was here, kind of, and it was like softly spoken, loudly spoken, right, and it felt like someone was probably like either one extremely hard of hearing, or it's something to do with like a court hearing, or like hard of like finding one's own falling on deaf ears. Like, okay, well, I'm just like thinking and thinking and thinking, but I don't know where I'm picking that one up. Like, because I'm picking up like a cold and flu hearing it like condition. Something's to do with someone's hearing. Okay, Aquarius, but something to do with someone's hearing. It's like, did you not hear me the first time? It's like, yeah, but I'm going to do it again. It's like, well, what are you doing it again? It's like, did you not hear what happened the last time? Did you not see what happened the last time? Did you not witness all of this that we went through? And it's like, yeah, sure, but I'm still doing it. And it's like, oh, you're still doing it? So where's your action plan? Have you took anything yet? And it's like, no, well, not yet. It's like an action plan of non-existence feeling, Aquarius. I'm sorry that this reading comes across a little bit persuasive maybe to people. But there seems to be a lot of that, of like falling upon oneself, of like non-belief, which is coming from a low vibration of not having something else to believe in other than a relationship. That's why people say self-love. That's what that is. Belief in oneself outside of physical relationships or anything, which is life. Which is, if your life gets very difficult, it's because you're not going with it. Okay? So you have to go along with that. And when you go along with that, that's when you are elevated to a higher state, because you have something to look forward to other than just all of this stuff here. So basically what Spirit or Steve is saying is that you've got to find also something other than just work. Okay, like your partner and you probably need to spend some like alone time, but doing stuff together, like in a physical relationship where you have enough time to do it. But if someone has a lot of work, then it seems to be coming through as two instances, which we're going to continue on the other side. Okay, guys, sorry, but I'm going right on. So we will continue on with the rest of your reading as usual. It's now just $5, not $16. You can join Patreon. It just goes right down to $5. Obviously, we continue on the timeline, and then we clarify the cards. As I do different readings through the month, there will be probably a you versus them, thoughts, feelings, actions, all that kind of stuff. I've got to decide which one I'm going to do yet, but I might still do a 1st and the 15th. But obviously, you get all of those for literally $5 per month. You can join for a month and then decide to not join the next month, but it's up to you, okay? But it really does help out the channel. So that is in the link below. You can find it under Show More section for Patreon. Also, you can reach out for a personal reading if you would like one, okay? All right, guys, thanks very much, Aquarius. I really do appreciate all your support, guys. Thanks very much. See you again soon.